All right, what's going on, everybody? We got Kenneth here and Patton. We're two of the co-founders of SimBull. Going live, we're going to be doing this probably every Friday, just providing a quick breakdown of what happened in the market last week, and then we're going to give some of our own predictions for some teams you might want to look into buying.
Do we have a name for this yet? I mean, this is our first ever one, so I think we gotta come up with a name.
Yeah, or anybody watching, if you want to put it in the chat, I just put SimBull weekly review, but we'd love any better suggestions. So
we're copying Robin Hood snacks. So if you have a clever playoff symbol, we'd love to hear it.
For sure. Cool. Well, let's dive into it. So first, we're going to take a look at the Sim MLB market and just some of the biggest gainers and some of the biggest fallers this week. So let's start off here, Ken. We'll go with the Sim White Sox had the biggest week. They're currently priced at $38.76 on the market at a 21.24% return this week.
Yeah, huge return, 21%. They're now the third most expensive team in the Sim MLB. So behind the Dodgers and the Yankees, and now the Sim White Sox, which is probably well deserved. First in the AL Central, I just looked up. They have the best run differential in baseball. So they've been on fire both offensively and defensively. Best part about it is their manager is incompetent, and they're still 26-16, which is pretty crazy.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot to be said about what's going on off the field, but they're certainly proving it on the field with how they've been playing. It helps, too, with their schedule going forward. It's not the toughest division in baseball. So when you're playing Detroit and the Royals, that definitely helps.
And the Twins.
And the Twins when you're trying to get that best record in baseball. So definitely a team to keep an eye on.
What was your whole thought on that, the Tony La Russa thing with Mercedes?
So, I'm here in Chicago, and I love listening to sports talk radio. And it was a non-story that played on for 3-4 days because Tony La Russa let it. I get he's old school, and he could have just been like, that's not how I play baseball. Me and Yerman had a conversation behind closed doors. That's the end of it. But he had to double down. And Lance Lynn said something, and he tripled down and said, that's why I have an office and you have a locker. It's just stop putting yourselves above these guys. They didn't want you here in the first place. Now you're just making more issues. And so it's crazy.
You have a team full of 22-year-olds, and you hire a 75-year-old manager who has no feel for anything that's going on in the game of baseball. No. It doesn't help that he keeps the whole thing of he didn't know the extra innings rules.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how you can blame him for that. I mean, he's getting close to senile, and he's been playing the same game for 70 years. So I don't think that's his fault. But it is funny when your manager doesn't know the rules because they changed last year and he wasn't in the game of baseball last year.
Yeah. I mean, the White Sox did everything right. They built their farm over years, made awesome trades. They have a loaded roster. I mean, Luis Roberts and Eloy Jimenez are out right now, two of their best hitters, and they're still, like you said, the best run differential in baseball. And the one move they could have made when they fired Renteria was, okay, just don't hire a manager who's going to get in the way of this team. And so far, they've won in spite of him, but I don't know how long that's going to last, especially when things get down to the wire at the end of the year or in playoffs, too.
Yep. All right, who's next? So White Sox plus 21% on the week, biggest of any team in the entire market, number one return.
Mm-hmm. And now, so second biggest, and there's some good value here, is the St. Louis Cardinals. So they had a 16% return this week. They're currently priced at $31.15 on the market. And they're the 13th most expensive team on the market. So great value there if you're looking for the Cardinals long term.
Yeah, they're interesting because I think they were at the beginning of the year, they were projected to finish third in the NL Central behind the Cubs behind the Brewers and the Cubs. They were projected to finish third. They've proven to be the best team in that division by far early. But I was just interesting. I was actually just looking at Pacoda again just to see if they updated their rankings. They have the Cardinals. They still have the Cardinals finishing third. So according to Pacoda, they don't like them the rest of the season, but they've started out really well, and the market's responded by, what did you say, up 16% on the week?
Yep,
which
16%.
Is, again, a pretty good return if they can sustain it.
Especially coming from where they were, too. I don't know the exact number of the market, but if you're going up 16% in 1 week and you're still the 13th most valuable team in the market, I mean, there's got to be some good value going forward there. I know they do have a tough series this weekend against the Cubs that can make or break who's in first place, and they've had some offensive struggles. But, yeah, I think long-term, considering where they're at right now, that could be one of the best spots you could go with. Especially in Sim MLB.
Yeah. From where they're coming from, they have 25 wins, which is tops in the MLB. And if they were middle to lower the pack, that would have been a huge return for current investors.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then we got a little bit of a surprise team here, both on the field and in the SimBull market. We'll take a look at the Sim Red Sox. They are currently up 14% this week and priced at 35.31. So ahead of the Cardinals, the market's starting to react to them a little bit. They're actually the sixth most expensive team on the market, but just have exceeded expectations.
Well, and they've had, I'm looking at their graph right now. They've probably had the biggest return since from the start of the Sim MLB market, right? I mean, they were projected to finish last or second to last in the AL East, and now they're first, ahead of a very good Rays team, ahead of a very good Yankees team, ahead of a very good Blue Jays team. The problem with them is they have a really hard division.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be hard to sustain. But again, they have 26 wins, tops of baseball. They've had a huge return since the beginning, but the question is sustainability. If the Sim Yankees are the second most team in the market and the Sim Red Sox are the sixth, who would you rather buy? I don't know. But yeah, they've had a heck of a week. Finally reacting to what they're doing on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that is they've had 16% return this week. 14% return this week, but a 42% return since Sim MLB launch. So good stuff there. Let's look at some of the downers in the Sim MLB this week. The Braves, who were one of the most positive young teams coming in, loads of talent, especially with young age, reigning MVP Freddie Freeman on that team as well. Down 15% this week, have dropped to 31.79 in the market.
Yeah, I think the market's finally reacting to how bad the Sim Braves have been so far to start the year. I mean, I think they were priced as a top 5 team to start the year because, like you said, they had Freddie Freeman. They had the face of baseball, Ronald Acuna Jr., who is the most electric player in baseball, maybe Shohei Ohtani. But they're still the 9th price team, which is interesting. So they haven't fallen down completely out of, the top half of the league, even though they are, I think, last in the NL East.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting. I would be cautious of them moving forward because it looks like they still have some room to fall, right? They've fallen 15% this week. But it looks like they still have a decent ways to go if they continue to perform at this level.
Right. Yeah. And still overall on the year, like you said, they were one of the most expensive teams when we released the ISOs. But they're still up 24% on the year. So just be wary if you're an investor in the Sim Braves. The bottom might fall out. This has been a bad week, and that might keep going if they don't get back to their winning ways of last year. Another team who's been surprising on the field this year, and the market's starting to react to it, the Sim Dodgers, down 6% this week. Still the most expensive team on the market. Obviously, loads of talent. Last year's World Series champion. But what do you think of the Dodgers falling that much this week?
Probably deserved. I think people are starting to get a little bit nervous. I mean, they started as the most expensive team in the Sim MLB market. They were projected to win well over 100 games, and they came out of the gate hot. I think they started 13-2 or 15-2, something crazy like that. And the market responded. They went from, I'm looking at their graph now on SimBull, they went from 45 up to a peak of 51.92, which was the most expensive team in the entire Sim MLB market, in the entire market in general. So they got rewarded, but then all of a sudden they've really been scuffling. Now they're third in the NL West, behind the Sim Giants and behind the Sim Padres. Only a couple of games, so long season left for them. And I still would expect them to be the most valuable team in baseball, especially if they go on to make a World Series, which they probably will. But just something to keep an eye on, that they're not as guaranteed to earn those win payouts as people thought they once were.
Right, and that's a team where it's different in the SimBull market because they have been the most expensive team and they've continued to be the most expensive team. And it might be too soon to sell them off, but they do play in a tougher division. The Padres got a lot better. The Giants have exceeded everyone's expectations. So right now, if you're a Sim Giants owner, I would probably say hold on, but just be careful if they keep slipping. It might be worth dumping it.
But they have a future Hall of Famer, Albert Pujols, now. So they're going to get on the right track.
He did most of it in Dodger blue,
right? I didn't see the market react to Albert Pujols, except it did go down. So maybe Albert Pujols hurt the share price.
Yeah, people weren't the biggest fans. That was an interesting move, to say the least. But I guess they've been dealing with some injuries, so kind of helps out with some depth there. Cool. Let's transition into the Sim NBA market now. We got the playoffs going on. Tonight is the last night for the play-in game. We have the Grizzlies playing the Warriors. The winner of that will go on to face the 1 seed in the West. So biggest risers this week, not a huge surprise. The Sim Lakers have gone up 15%. it got a little rocky there towards the end of the year, and especially with drawing the Warriors in that play-in game. I'm sure that led to some concern, but after they won that, shot up immediately after.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you saw my TikTok, Patton, but at SimBull Sports on TikTok, I made a video. It got like 30,000 views. I said I will give every single person who likes this $10 if the Warriors beat the Lakers. Was never nervous, although thank God for LeBron James hitting a 30-footer out of nowhere to save that. A lot of humiliation on TikTok, but now I got a lot of street cred on with the TikTokers.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, Lakers have been the top team in the SimBull market the entire year. Finally, the Jazz overtook them when people started realizing the Sim Jazz were legit. But I don't think it's any surprise. If you look at the betting markets, I think the Sim Lakers have like the third best odds to win the NBA Finals as the 7 seed.
Yeah, and they're actually the first team in 30 years, the first 7 seed to be favored over a 2 seed. So betting favorites coming into this series.
But what's interesting about the NBA is whoever wins the championship is going to earn 16 more win payouts for their investors. Right? Like if the Lakers make a run, they have to win 16 games, so they could still provide a really nice return, even though they are, one of the tops in the Sim NBA market.
Right. Yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. Like you said, tops in the market. They're the second highest valued team on the market right now. But hey, if they can pull off an upset here, if you will call it an upset, they got a chance at some pretty decent win payouts in a short span. So definitely a team worth monitoring. Here's another team that's kind of flown under the radar. The Sim Hawks, second best return this week, 7%, priced at $28.30 on the market. What do you think about the Hawks?
Yeah, they've been a pleasant surprise all year. Pretty much under the radar. And I mean, the thing about the SimBull market too is it is long term, right? So you're looking at a team like the Hawks who have a lot of young talent moving forward. It's yes, they maybe they make a run in the playoffs this year, maybe they don't, but in the next couple of years, they're going to provide a lot of the same value. So they're an interesting team that people, I guess, are going into the offseason. Like maybe they pick up a few extra win payouts in the playoffs, but also moving forward in the next couple of years, it seems like they have a good chance to be one of the better young teams in the market.
Absolutely.
I would say the other thing too, just about the NBA market, which is really interesting, is you have a really loaded Western Conference. So if you can find a team in the East that's gonna rise, there could be a lot of value as far as win payouts moving forward, right? Like you saw the Sim Nets win 48 games. You had the Sim Bucks win 46 games. The Sim 76ers win 49 games because they're playing in a weak Eastern Conference. So looking at those teams who can rack up win payouts during the regular season will be key moving forward for the market.
For sure. And if you do like the Hawks, now is a great time to get in on them. They're the 15th most expensive team in the market, so right in the middle of the pack there. And the other thing, too, is they're playing the Knicks, and I know the Knicks have had a surprising year this year, but, they don't have a lot of playoff experience on that team. It's, they're young. They've surprised a lot of people, and Tibbs is a great coach, but there might be some value there with the Hawks going to New York and upsetting them there and moving on.
Regular season Tibbs, right? He played all his guys 46 minutes. So Derrick Rose is going to come up with a couple knees in the playoffs.
I sure hope not. But yeah, that bring back some bad memories as a Bulls fan. But yeah, no doubt. So cool. And we'll take a look at our last team here, the Sim Heat, third biggest riser in the NBA market, 4.5% return, $32.76 is their current price.
They've had a really interesting season, right? Because they started out really slow after their bubble appearance last year. They played a lot longer than everyone else, making it to the finals and losing to the Heat. But they started off really slow this year, and investors never really gave up on them. They had pretty much a steady rise for the entire year until we started reaching the point where the entire Sim NBA started to downturn as people shifted to baseball. So they hit a peak of, looks like about $37 at the beginning of April, and they've been on a steady downward turn through May, but they did have a little bit of an uptick this week. So some people going in and hoping they can make a run in the playoffs. They have had a lot of success against the Bucks recently. So that was their opening round draw, I believe. So I think, if you listen to what Giannis said, Giannis wasn't confident against his Heat team. So we'll see.
Yeah, I was going to say they beat the Bucks last year in the Eastern Conference Finals and kind of made a surprise run their way to the finals. And that's one of those things that's high risk on SimBull. But if you can buy one of those teams, as we've mentioned, get the opportunity at some good win payouts if they can make a surprise run, especially a team that's valued like the Heat, 11th most expensive team in the market. So definitely an opportunity there. And we'll look at some of the teams who have slid this week. Some surprises here. The Sim Wizards down 11, just over 11% on the week, down to 21.25 on the market.
Yeah, I think that's what you can somewhat expect to see from the bottom half of the NBA teams moving forward, because we are going into the offseason where there's no opportunities for win payouts.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably going to see that. The Wizards are the 8th seed. They won their won their play-in tournament. I got lost in how the play-in tournament works, but they won their play-in tournament games. So the 8th seed. But I would say that's just, once they get bounced, right, they have no more win payouts for the next 7 or 8 months. So, if you are a Washington fan, you put some money in the Nationals as opposed to Wizards. I think the slide makes a little bit of sense, even though they are still in the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's it's a tough one too, because they lost their first playoff game, and that's when the big sell-off happened, when they dropped, because they were actually steadily rising. And then they won the second play-in game, but again, like you said, they're the 8th seed, and they got to go and play the 1 seed in the playoffs. So that's a pretty tough matchup, and the 76ers have been awesome this year. So I don't know if there's too much value there. Like you said, if you like them long term, it's going to be a waiting game till next season. But yeah, just be careful on those Wizards. And
one quote on the Sim Wizards: they've been one of the most ridiculously exciting teams in the Sim NBA market this year. From when they were atrocious, and then Bradley Beal went on this heroic won 9 in a row. I'm just looking at their graph. They're a fun one to look at. February, they're $18. A week later, they're $25. 3 days later, they go back to $18, and they go back up to $25, all in like a 2-week span. So a fun graph to look at. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens in the playoffs. For
sure. And another one here, the Sim Warriors played a great game against the Lakers, like you said, but ended up falling short. They play the Grizzlies tonight. They've fallen 3% this week. And I think that was right after the Lakers lost as well.
Both the Sim Grizzlies and the Sim Warriors took a dive a little bit after. The Grizzlies actually won their 9-10 playing game, but yeah, it's one of those things, right? If they lose, they're out. So investors are taking the risk of, if they lose that game, I don't get any more win payouts. So sell them off now, and whether move to a higher profile team or somewhere in the Sim MLB or Sim NFL coming up.
Yeah, for sure. And the Grizzlies are one of those teams lower valued on the market at 23.71. So got a young team led by Ja Morant, so it could be some good value long term, but it could be something you wait for until NBA season rolls around next week. So that's our fallers. Quick note on the NFL that we want to mention: the Lions are up 15% and the Patriots are up 13%. Any comments on that?
Bill Belichick and Mac Jones.
Yeah.
I actually am in on the Patriots. So the Patriots have had a pretty heroic rise actually in the market. I was just looking at them. They are now the 5th most expensive team. I think that's probably overpriced. But if I was an owner of the Sim Patriots, I would consider looking at, Cam Newton was an MVP, right? Say what you want about last year, where he had more interceptions and he threw like 6 touchdown passes, but he was an MVP. And he suffered from COVID last year. Before COVID last year, he was really, really, really good, right? He was actually really good. And then he came back. He said he had trouble breathing, all that stuff. So I think the Sim Patriots are actually a really interesting team, because if Cam Newton can show anything what he once was, I think they actually will have a really good chance at competing this year. Long term, it all depends on Mac Jones.
Right, for sure. And the Lions, too, with a quick rise. That could be a value thing there. They were, I think, coming into the week, 2nd or 3rd lowest price team on the market. They've moved up a little bit there, but teams just kind of positioning themselves for some long-term value in the future.
What do you think there's any rumor or any truth to the rumors of the Packers trying to trade for Julio Jones?
I've been reading that it doesn't make much financial sense for the Falcons to trade Julio Jones, and I'm not sure why.
Before June 1st.
Before June 1st. Okay, so yeah, I could see the Packers doing that. I mean, depending on how much money they'd have to eat, and they're not in the best salary cap situation, but I bet you could get them for a lower round pick, 3rd or 4th is what I would be thinking. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the story was the Falcons get to save $15 million on cap space if they trade him post June 1st.
Okay.
So it'd make financial sense for the Falcons, but it'd be tough for the Packers because you have to eat his contract, which is huge.
Right.
I personally think it's the Packers trying to get back at Rodgers, saying like, "Oh, we're willing to make a move, but your salary cap is just too big. We can't do anything." I think it's more of like a, "Hey, look, we're trying to make a move to help you, but you're not helping us," sort of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword in Green Bay, because Rodgers is begging for more money if the rumors are true, but he's also eating up a lot of that salary cap, and will be if he's going to stay. So it'll be interesting to monitor and see how it shakes out. Cool. All right, guys. We appreciate everyone who's tuned in. We're going to wrap this up. We got some questions here, so I'll ask you first, KJ.
All right.
Who's your SimBull buy of the week? So a team that you would buy and hold on to maybe this week, maybe next week, but had solid short-term value in these next coming weeks.
All right. Small market team. Hear me out. The Sim Royals in the Sim MLB, right? We already talked about the weak division, right, with the Royals and the Tigers and the Twins. Oh, here we go. We can put comments.
Yeah, if anybody wants to put comments in the chat.
So hear me out. The Sim Royals priced as like the fifth cheapest team in the Sim MLB right now, right? So a lot of upside value. But here are the series coming up in May and June. They have the Tigers for 3. Then you have the Rays. So that'll be tough. But then you have the Twins for 3, the Pirates for 3, the Twins for 3, and the Angels for 3. So they have 6 of their next 7 series are against teams that are 6 or 7 games below 500. So if you're looking for immediate win payouts, I think they provide a lot of great value because they could win 10 of their next 15 if they win all those series. And that provides for a team that's the 5th cheapest team on the Sim MLB market, that is a lot of potential return.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
What about you? Are you who's your team of the week?
So I'm going to go with another small market team, the Sim Athletics. So they are a little pricier market-wise. They're the 8th most expensive team. But listen, every year this team not exceeds expectations because they've been so good. But for a small market team, just one of the best at finding talent in unique ways, and everyone's seen Moneyball. But so, like I said, 8th highest value team in the market. They're currently 2nd in the AL West, and it is a tougher division with how the Astros have been playing this year. But talk about a nice schedule coming up, and this might not be a 1-week buy. This might be a 3-week buy. So no joke, they play the Angels, who have the worst rotation in baseball, the Mariners, who are on the up and up, but they're young, Angels again, Mariners again, and then we move on to the Rockies, who are last in their division, the Diamondbacks, who are 2nd to last in the NL West, and then you play the Royals, who I know you like them, but
yep.
I think the Athletics have a shot there, and then they finish off with the Angels. So that's one full month. On June 19th, they have their first series against the Yankees, which will be their toughest. But that stretch of 7 series are all winnable. So win payouts there, it's a great opportunity if you're looking at.
Yeah, that's like 28 games straight of teams below 500.
Right. So
yeah.
I think there's really good value there, and you could buy and hold for a month, and then when that schedule gets tougher and they have to play some of the better teams in the AL, can dump them off, but take home those win payouts for sure. Yeah. All right, last question here. Your team to avoid, KJ. Who are you going with?
Team to avoid. We talked about them because the teams that we liked are playing this team quite a bit. But the Sim Angels, they are atrocious. I mean, they are probably the most frustrating team in all professional sports right now because they have 2 generational players in Mike Trout, who has never played in a playoff game, and he's going to grow. I think he's going to go down as the greatest baseball player of all time if you look, especially some of the sabermetrics of the WAR. But they have wasted his entire career, and now it looks like they're going to do the same exact thing with Shohei Ohtani, who is becoming the most electric thing in all of baseball. The problem is they play on the West Coast, so no one sees their prime. They don't have primetime games. But if you haven't seen him, he's leading the MLB in home runs, and he has a 2.1 ERA. I think he's pitching on Saturday.
I saw an awesome stat. It was he leads the league in slugging percentage, and he also leads pitchers in slugging percentage against, so the lowest in the MLB.
That's pretty hilarious.
Insane.
I saw a great tweet that went viral. It was, someone's like, "Oh, Shohei Ohtani just pitched and now he's playing right field." Crazy. Someone just responds. He goes, "I did that from when I was 8 to 13." Like it is. It's like little league stuff. Like he's the greatest athlete in baseball, right? He's gotta be. No one else can do what he does.
He's a modern day Babe Ruth, and it's one of those things comes around every 100 years. So Babe Ruth, had his dominance in the 1920s, and here's Ohtani doing it in the 2020s. So.
But anyway, we got lost in that question. So we talked about how great these 2 players are, but stay away from them on SimBull because they are atrocious. I think right now they're still the 12th most expensive team in the Sim MLB market, but they're 6 games below 500, and they're playing in a division where it looks like the Astros and the Athletics aren't really going anywhere. So I think I would personally stay away from them. It's one of those things where we've talked about this before, Pat, with the Bears. Like there's certain ownerships that they own a team and they just don't. They're not going for championships, right? They're not
Right.
trying to be that. They want to sell tickets. They want to sell jerseys, right? They did that with Trout. And they're just one of those organizations that will not put it together enough to make a run with these two generational players. So I would stay away from them on SimBull. I don't think that's a team that I would go in on.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Awesome. Do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'll go one real quick with my team to avoid. I would stay away from the Sim Mavericks. So they're the 9th most expensive team in the NBA market, which isn't that bad, but they do play in a tough Western Conference, and they're matched up against the Clippers. So, the Clippers, I don't know if they've been a disappointment this year. Obviously not as high as everyone has expected, but still decent. And I don't know, that's just going to be a tough matchup going up against that team and all the stars they have in the playoffs. So could be a one and done in the first round. And so just be careful if you're buying them. Maybe good long-term value with Luka, but for now it might be one to avoid this week.
That's interesting. They're the Sim Clippers and the Sim Mavericks are the same price at the 4-5, which is pretty interesting. So which one would you rather own for this series? Probably the Clippers, but long-term, maybe the Sim Mavericks have more value. But yeah, I would, as far as just if you're looking at win payouts, right, the expected value of getting those win payouts from an NBA team that has to make a run to the finals to make it worthwhile, it would be tough.
For sure. For sure. All right, man. Anything else you want to add, or does that do it?
No, I think that'll do it for this week. We'll come back every week. We'll do it at the same time around this Friday afternoon when you're sitting at your desk and ready to leave for the weekend. We'll provide you with a lot of great commentary.
Yeah, feel free to crack a beer and join happy hour with us, and we'll take you off into the weekend.
Yep, absolutely. All right, man.
All right, thanks, guys. We'll see you.
I'll see you.